from my star in the galaxy. Good afternoon from Jeannie's star in the universe. And good very morning to Cheryl in Queensland, Australia, getting up at 6 a.m. to join us on TMS Roundtable. My name's Dr. Tovah Goldfein. I'm going to introduce the guest in a moment. I just want to say a few words. I had met Cheryl 3-4 years ago, and we did some work together, and then we did some work with Rose. So Rose is here with us today. And Cheryl had quite an outstanding healing journey, which started and continues, because it is a linear going, like it's gone, at least now it's going like this and not like this. So I think we bumped into each other on Facebook and we talked about meeting again, and then life got busy, and then finally I said to Jeannie, you got to meet Cheryl. So here we are, TMS Roundtable. This is number 271, I think, broadcast. And really, I always say, welcome back to my studio. Thank you for blessing my studio. I'm here with my co-host, Jeannie Colwin, who's an amazing coach and also has an amazing healing drama and trauma that we talked about and we'll talk about again today. So thank you so much. And I like to begin with kind of like a timeline. So when did you fall and needed to learn how to get up? When was that?
So February 2019. At that point in my life, I was a flight attendant, and I noticed I started to get sensations in my anal area, very, very painful, couldn't sit, started to take some time off work. And then that escalated to fly, you can't be sick. So you cannot have a cold or anything. Otherwise, you're in the air. There's nobody up there for you. So I started to get gastro symptoms, gastritis, sinusitis started to kick in, and my body around my ribs, just different parts of my body, my back, my feet, all the areas that I had pain in most of my life started to escalate. I took time off work and I went to the doctors. They couldn't work out what was going on. They said, you're just burnt out. Take some time off work. I took time off work. I'd start to get a little bit better. And every time I went to go back to work, the sinusitis kicked in really, 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 really badly. So therefore I couldn't fly. So I took more time off to the point I had to leave work because the pain just escalated. Once I left work, I realized the costochondritis kicked in. That was the next thing. So I had sinusitis, gastritis, costochondritis, all in one hit, and I couldn't sit on my bum very well because it was just a feeling of wanting to go to the toilet, but you didn't need to go to the toilet, and not knowing what was going on. Back to the doctors again. Why is this looping? They did some blood tests, and at that point I had hemochromatosis came up. So I had to give blood at the same point in time, and then I was having panic attacks in the blood bank because I had no idea what was going on. When the costochondritis really kicked in that weekend, or a couple of weeks prior to that, I had been out water skiing behind the boat. And when I told the doctor that, she said, that's what's going on with you. You've ripped your muscles to shreds. You will never water ski again in your life. And do you have to work? And this is just before. And at that point in time, what I really felt in my body was complete helplessness. The power that the doctors have over you to say that to you, to take the joys in my life away, tell me you can't work anymore, there's nothing we can do for you. We don't know what's going on. And so I was left on the floor in my lounge room, 24 hours, 7 days a week. The pain was, for those ladies out there who have had a baby and can definitely say how painful it is to go through labor, that would be a walk in the park. So this was chronic. I was on the floor. I couldn't eat. I was dropping weight. My depression, my mental health was really suffering. I couldn't tune into what I was really feeling emotionally, because the pain had escalated to such a high point. Tapping in just seemed so hard. All I knew was I was depressed. Like, what's left of me now? Like, what do I do? So I would cry. I would wrap myself in ice to try and get some sort of relief. I'd go back to the doctors again, constantly back to the doctors. What can we do for you today? Every time I went there, it was hopelessness. It was like, is there anything you can give me, just to feel that hopelessness, or a burden? I felt like a burden on them, like they couldn't give me anything. That was doing that.
Oh, come back, Cheryl, come back. Okay, hold on. She'll be back. She's definitely down under in Queensland, Australia. Okay, give us a minute. What were you going to say? Something?
Like, I was going to say, I've heard you say this before. This is what happens when you go live. It's unpredictable.
Yeah, but how about like, let's just like to say to Cheryl, like, can you imagine? I mean, she's not even talking about fear yet of dying or fear. She's just like even just, I never heard that before about the doctors. I didn't want to bother the doctors. That's such an interesting thing that goes on. Like this submission to the medical doctors.
It's a whole thing with the medical system. Yeah. It's a lot of shame. It's a lot of not taking up space, right? We go to the doctor. We're used to being rushed. We're used to not feeling validated. And so we kind of go in with that same energy. She's back.
Okay. We held the crowds. We're listening. So you were like, I didn't want to bother the doctor. So continue.
No. And at that point in time, when the hemochromatosis come in and I was giving blood, that was the point I thought, I'm dying. I never felt such fear in my body. I thought I was dying. And they would be taking the blood, and I just felt my body weight go down to the point that I think about 4 months after all this had happened and I wasn't getting answers, I had nowhere to go. I had inflammation. So inflammation was on my ribs. You could see it across my ribs. It was, they were inflamed. So the pain was really intense. And at that point, when I thought I was dying, I got in my car one day and I drove myself to the beach with intentions of not coming home, because I thought that was it. I'm not wanted. But I remember sitting on the beach, and in that moment, that's when I realized that there was a greater power underneath. I took myself off the beach. That's when I connected to my heart more, and that's when I was listening to my head. And all of a sudden, I just knew I was listening to my head. And somehow I got the strength to walk off the beach. And I took myself in the car and I got home and I started Dr. Googling for, and I took myself
for Google. It has its purpose. It has its.
And it was just how it was. And I took myself to a chiropractor. And she noticed I had tsetse syndrome as well. And I went, oh, okay, what's that? So there's another one. Okay, well, we might as well add that to the list too. And I started to feel better because she showed compassion. She actually said, I'm so sorry that you're suffering at the moment. And I remember going back to my doctors, and my doctor said, did she give you any answers? And I went, well, no, she just added another label now I've got TT syndrome as well. The pain started to subside a little bit, but it was still there. So much so, you try anything when you're in that spiral. I remember going online and I ordered these patches. They were like these monster Band-Aids. Some of them were that big. I had one here, one here, one here, one here. My whole body was wrapped in like a bandage. And I went to the chiropractor and she just took off my top and went, "What on earth?" And I said, "I don't care. It's working. Whether it's just a placebo effect, whatever works." She said, "Just keep them on." And then she kept me going on ice. At that point in time, it improved a little bit, but not a lot. So I was getting weaker in my body because my doctor said to me, "I don't want you doing anything muscular. Don't move so much. I don't want you lifting." So my muscles started to become weak because I believed what she said, that you'd rip. To this point, I didn't think I was going to water ski or do sport again. Because they said, "That's it. Your life with sport is definitely gone." I then went to a physio, and I believed that his boss had costochondritis and he healed from it and became a marathon runner. So I had some hope and belief that maybe someone will get to the root cause of this. But at this time, the sinusitis was still looping in, the gastritis was still coming in, and then the plantar fascitis decided to welcome to the party. "Oh, that's one from a long time ago. Hello." So it came in too. So if you've never had it, those viewers out there or those who have got it, I am completely understanding of how you feel. It is horrible that you can't walk. But I believe this was my feelings going on inside, that just walking forward in life, what am I going to do? Mm-hmm. And being, to me, plantar fasciitis meant being misunderstood. Who understands what I'm suffering in life? So I started doing a physio and building my muscles and stuff up. I did have an MRI scan done on my back, and then they found something else. And then all of a sudden I had this pain on my T9, T10. Tovah, you could probably relate to old Sherman's disease.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even though I had it. And would you believe I had no pain in that area until they read that scan?
Yeah.
Powerful brain.
Powerful brain. So it said, "Hello." So therefore you would have this burning sensation, so going across your back as well. So that was another thing going on. So there must have been 6 or 7 things happening at this point in time. So I continued with the physio, and the inflammation started to go down a lot. It was really good. It was where he rubbed, and I started to notice things. When he rubbed and gave me massages in the area, my pain went to 1 from a 15 out of 10. And I went, "Whoa, why is this going away?" But the one thing he got me to do from the very first session I went there, now this was one of the most important things that I had never been told with in my life, was I was not breathing properly. I shallow breathed. So all my life as a baby, as you know, if you watch a newborn baby, their stomach rises up and rises down. But when we as children, the doctor says, take a deep breath in, we take it from our chest. Yeah. So therefore, my life, I started to, if you become anxious, nervous, angry, grieved something, you would shallow breathe. So therefore, my lungs weren't filling. My body was in shutdown. I was frozen. I went fight, flight to a freeze fawn state. So that's what was happening. I was frozen. I did not want to feel anymore. That was it. That's it. And then shallow breathing didn't help. So he got me to breathe again. He would give me breathing exercises to lay on my stomach and lay on my back with my legs in the air. And he said, "I want you to watch your belly rise up and down, up and down. Let's get it." But he told me to stop it here at my sternum. He said, "I want you to only go there." So took that advice. I started to get better. Then all of a sudden, COVID came in. Everything went back the other way. And down I went again. And then I said to him, He then said, I went back to him and I said, everything's spiraling again. And he just threw his hands in the air and said, well, you know, you've got this and you've got that, so it's going to come and go. And I went, okay, all right. So I walked out of there feeling helpless, absolutely helpless of where to go. Like I was just a burden. They just didn't know what to do or where to get me back on my feet. So then I went to another chiropractor, and I walked in and he'd seen costochondritis before. And when I went in there, he said, I've seen it before, but he said, yours is different. He said, just do one thing. So mentally, he could see my mental health had declined to a point, because he said to me, don't do this to yourself. That sort of really threw me, because I went, at that point in time, I went, oh my God, he sees that my depression's down, but okay, he said, I want to see you twice a week. And he just worked on my rib cage and stuff to try and get me to breathe. But he noticed, he said, why are you only breathing to your sternum? He said, I want you to breathe all the way. He said, the breath work is the most important connection to your body, because I couldn't even stand on one foot and balance. So I started to breathe properly and do more sessions with him. And it went along all right. And then it didn't. Then I started to go backwards again, because my mental health was just coming in, because I still hadn't dealt with the suppressed emotions or the mental state that I was in. And that's what all this was about. My body was still shutting down. It was still freezing. It was still giving me back pain. But the old injuries started to come back in. Sometimes I would walk and my left foot, my left ankle would start giving me pain. My knees, because I used to have inflammation in my knees, and the lumps are still there, but I don't have pain, where I couldn't walk for 4 months. So I think they call that tendonitis or whatever. It was another itis. So I said to him, well, this is not working. So I went to a Bowen therapist. I Googled her. I sent her a message, said, have you heard about costochondritis? She said, no, but she said, please come and see me. She was a really unique Bowen therapist. She knew about energy healing, and energy, as you know, we are the energy in our body. So I went to see her, and she laid me, as soon as she saw me, she looked at me and she said, you've given too much. You have given and given. I can see looking at you. You have given to the point of exhaustion, to burnout. She said, let's start giving back to you. So she laid me down on the table, and sometimes she would cough, because she would do this energy type healing. And she could see I had sinusitis at the time, so it was very uncomfortable. You can imagine laying on this massage table, snot pouring out of your nose everywhere. Your eyes was just water coming everywhere, and you're in all this pain. But as she was touching me, she was able to shift the pain and tap in. But she asked me one important question. She said, I want you to imagine a mirror in front of you. Stare into that mirror, and what's the first word that comes to your mind? I said, alone. And then she said, I want you to put someone that you trust. It can be a friend, a family member, someone to hold that mirror for you. And so she did. So I put a long-term friend that I could trust and say my utmost stuff to, and it would stay with her. And my symptoms died down, because there was compassion. There was a sense of safety as I looked at myself in the mirror. So I saw myself for the first time. And then she started to talk about things and try to get things to come up. And I'll just put this blind down so I'm not getting the sun. And she started to mention things in my life. And as she mentioned them, I started to get neck pain and head pain, and the wraparound headband pain. The migraines kicked in, and I left that session, and the intensity of the pain was incredible. But I realized now, because she had asked me during the session, could I forgive, because she brought my parents and my sister into it, could I forgive them? She said, I've got a feeling you've got anger there, there's repressed emotion. And she said, can you forgive them? I said, yes, but I wasn't ready to. So the pain that was going up my neck was bullheadedness, me saying no, yes, but no, because I hadn't dived in, I hadn't forgiven them, I hadn't done the deeper work to let what was done to me, the trauma of my childhood, to let it release yet. So I went home, I did one more session with her. She's asked, how did you go? And I said, look, this is what happened. She said, look, what I can see is everything is on the surface. But she mentioned another thing to me. She said, do you know everything you got is ITIS? She said, you've listed 10, 20 things. And she said, all of yours is ITIS. And then she said another important thing to me. She broke through my persona and she broke into my heart, which is where I needed to go. She got straight to my inner child and said, you will not heal this until you let all this go and fix this. It's on the surface. It's just some deep stuff, but you need to tap into you now. You need to give yourself compassion. So I did the session. I went home and I was on a site, a Costochondritis site, and beside my name, someone placed the book, The Mindbody Prescription. Hello, Dr. Sano. I was curious, so I picked up this book, and the first couple of pages I read, I went, oh, it's all in my head. Threw that in the
book
corner.
was written for you. It was written for you.
Yeah, I went, this is all starting to sound like so much woo-woo coming in, but still there was this part of me. And so I did another session with the Bowen therapist. And then that weekend I went home and my daughter had come over and I went to a stage of infertility of taking 3.5 years to have my daughter, and they could not find anything wrong with me. It was just, I know I was going through a lot of back pain at the stage, intense back pain. So there was a lot of intense emotions, and you are not going to fall pregnant. Your body's not going to allow you to have a baby if you've got a lot of this stuff going on in your body. And I looked at her, and I remember the last visit I went to for the doctor after 3.5 years. I went into the doctor's surgery, and the doctor I used to have, who was very in tune to your mental health, he said to me, have you thought about suicide? I said, many times I drive up the road and I see a tree and I want to marry it, basically. Because I said the pain of helplessness, or, you know, that I'm not good enough to have another child. There was so much there, but he gave me time and he heard me. So he gave me a prescription for antidepressants, the pill, and said, I want you to have a rest. At that point in time, I went home and I threw the prescriptions away and I said, no, there is nothing wrong with my body. I fell pregnant that month. And and it's due bleed. So when my daughter came to me that weekend, I looked at her and something inside of me, it wasn't from my head, it was from my heart. And it was this sheer strength of, remember when you were told that to take all these tablets and that you're not going to fall pregnant, and then you took the powers back into your own hand and you believed that there's nothing wrong with you and it would happen. So I picked up Dr. Sano's book again and I read it, and it spoke to me in spades. The book was written for me. I have no idea who the person was that laid it next to me. An angel is all I can say. And then I started watching the TMS roundtable, and I started watching Dan Bugio Paint For You. His videos were amazing as well. And then I engrossed myself more and more. I engrossed me, my beliefs in me. And then I contacted Rose, and then I did 8 weeks of ISTP therapy between Rose and Tovah. Rose was able to tap into my inner child. Tovah was amazing at mirroring the blah, blah I was talking. She said, you're saying all this, but get here. And you have this incredible capability, but you provided me with a safe space. And that was what I was aching for, searching for someone to hear me and to take.
I'm going to interrupt you. Here we go. This is the place. And Jeannie, let me know what you think about this. Cheryl, you spoke beautifully, just beautifully, and you're really, the details are really important. But here we go, because so many people that I meet and that I talk to, and Jeannie, and probably that you've talking to some people also, you know, they get this, they understand it, they know that they're suppressing the emotions, and they can't seem to. I always say it's like the doors. You're at the door, but what's it going to take for you to walk through the door and make that connection so your brain can be in, you know, parasympathetic, calm, and rest and digest. So what do you think you did in order to create that connection? Because it did take you many years, but you were able to do it, and then you were able to continue, because this is where people are getting stuck, and then they're stuck there, and then they in that cycle. What do you think you did? And then Jeannie, give me your opinion about that place where so many of us, like you've mentioned before we went live, because this is the key. This is what, it's not intellectual. It's not in Nicole Sachs' book. It's not in David Hanscom's, website. No. It's something deep in the person. So
it was a strong, when my inner child got tapped into, and when I saw my daughter that weekend, it was a connection to a will to live from the soul and my heart of who I was, and the mind did not speak. I did not listen to it, because that was a persona saying, you're helpless, you're this. I connected to my heart and went, I deserve to live. I've come through stronger, and it was powerful. And it had a will with an intention to get better, to heal. So it's not just free will. It's a will with an intention to come through this. I can come through this. I deserve to live. I want to live. I want to see my kids more, but I want to live. You sort of excluded everyone else around you, and it came down to me and how much I wanted to live, and how much I deserved to live, and how much I knew the power in me was there, because I started to ask about the vagus nerve. So I knew I had a dysregulated nervous system. I knew it as a child because I would get anxious. Because when I started
I want to just say, and this is what I think, and then Jeannie, I want to just get Jeannie to speak. I just have to say that this is the place people, we all have a hard time going to that deep. It's a deep, soulful, vulnerable, very scary place, but that's where we need to go. Yes. What do you think, Jeannie?
Okay, here we go. Yeah. This is like the way I kind of see it, and it's going to like make so much sense, and you're basically saying it. But here's the thing. When I realized, holy crap, I don't want to be in my body, because that's where all the pain is, like literally. And I had different journey, of course, than you, but I had lots of different symptoms. So I had here, like down to my feet, and, everywhere, the fatigue, everything. So when I realized that I don't want to be in my body, okay, so I'm going to dissociate. So that's, a big piece for people to understand. There's nothing wrong with you if you're in your head all the time. It makes so much sense for people with trauma, people who've had chronic pain, because the body doesn't feel safe. But what I love that you're saying is that your heart, you mentioned the soul, that's all in our body. And we get kind of caught up in this mind, body, TMS world with like mind, right? How Tovah was saying, the books and the podcasts and all the things, we get really like stuck here. Like, what's he saying? What's she saying? Like, I got to do this and more information. And we've lost the like body part of the mind body. But again, and to highlight, of course we would, because we don't feel safe in our body. We've had trauma. We don't want to feel our emotions. I taught breath work. I don't know if you know, Cheryl, but that's one of my favorite modalities. And, I say when I teach breath work, we'll do anything not to feel our emotions. So the stress is in our body, the trauma is in our body, the pain is in our body. So of course we're going to be in our heads and overthinking. And I just want to highlight and also shout out to Cheryl's first appearance here. And I know you'll link that to Tovah so people can hear the whole story too. Again, as she talks a lot about the heart. And I know that that's hard for people. We want to validate. Of course, it's hard for you if it is, because it's in the body. And the body and our intuition, it's very subtle, right? Like, have you ever heard of a gut knowing, right? Like a gut feeling? Subtle. So the brain and the mind and the ego is like, and then the intuition, especially us women, if you're watching your women have great intuition. The intuition is subtle. It's like soft and gentle. It's connected to source, or if you believe in a higher power. So anyway, I just want to like highlight, like, of course it's hard for a lot of us to feel connected to our heart, because it's going into a place we haven't wanted to be. It hasn't felt safe. So how do you think you got into that, Cheryl? How do you think you got, like, this is something I have a client, like, how do you get out of your head, right? Like, what would you say?
So with that, like, if you had met me prior to all this, I was the party girl. I never shut up. Constantly talked, because I was overriding my anxiety all the time, and I never shut up. I was loud. I never let a word in from anybody. So for me to get to that heart space and reconnected was a lot, because you have to find the gap, that intuition that you're talking about, and then the gut feeling of, I'd say to people, you know how you know, you don't know how you know, but you just know because you know.
Well, don't you think, Cheryl, too, you have to like slow down a bit and like get quiet to actually
You've got to be quiet.
Because
and it was
the ego in the mind is so loud and loud, chowder. You're not going to you're not going to notice the intuition and the
no. You can
good point.
Step into that space for that moment and allow yourself to step in, and then know what you want. It's okay to know that from the mind and go, no, I want to get better. And then the moment you say that, guess what's listening? It's how you talk to yourself. So my inner dialogue changed. So as my inner dialogue changed, I wasn't looping the negativity of my pain and so much. I was focusing more on the healing side. I want to get better. So as that happened, my intuition came through. That lower voice was able to be heard under the noise.
Right? I would say it's a practice.
Yeah, because I wasn't doing this as much as I was in pain. And I wanted to leave. I know about wanting to leave the body, and you go, oh, can I just have a new body? I went, this is what I'm given. And then so that lower voice, that quiet voice, that intuition kicked through and said, you can do this. But there was times, it was not like this. It would pull you down and forward. But I knew when I did the ISTP therapy, that was the game changer as well, because that was the connection. Rose and Tovah got me to connect more to my heart, because the first session I did with Rose, so I had one with the two of them, and then I did them separately. The first session I did with Rose, she went, no, all I'm getting is your ego and your personality. I want that. And then that was like, and then what she did was attack me, but what it did was it agitated me. But it brought my inner child out, my immature, because when we came out, we're just 8-year-olds in an adult body most of the time. But you want that 8-year-old to come out and start to speak. So Rose was going, no, I don't want any of that. She kept saying, and I just went, like, and then I started to bring anger. Those emotions started to come, but guess what left? I was water skiing by the end of, I think, a month and a half, wasn't I, Tovah? All this started to go. Then as you feel the movement of the pain during the therapy, you go, wow, how does all this leave the body?
Yeah.
Tell me how this works. All this can go away purely by expressing my deepest emotions and feelings and diving to me. So that helped me connect more to heart and believe that somewhere along the line, and I know where it was, I disconnected from my authenticity.
Yeah, and what does that mean, Cheryl? What would you say if someone's watching? What is, I don't know, they don't know what that word means.
So authenticity, when we're children and when we're younger, have you ever had a time, probably you would remember this more at high school, like if someone tells you, look, have a cigarette or come and do this, because you're trying to fit into this world, right? We're all trying to fit in. And inside that quiet little voice said, but I don't want to. No, but you do it anyway. You've just left yourself. You've just left your whole truth of how you really felt.
Because you wanted to feel attached. So you gave up your authenticity.
Your want to be accepted because you didn't feel that as a child. So
but I think that goes, I think that goes back again to like not being, again, I think
not
it's
feeling accepted.
You're not feeling, and you don't trust, and like trust, talk about trust on this journey, right? You don't trust doctors. We don't trust ourselves. We don't trust our body. So we don't trust our decisions. And then we take on all the mind chatter and we start to believe the ego. And you're telling us what Rose was saying, that you are not your ego, right? That these thoughts, right? But we get locked into these thoughts. We think they're our truth. We think that's our authenticity. That's my intuition. Like, mostly fear and doubt. Yeah.
And the more you loop it, and this is where Joe Dispenza's works come into this, is the more we loop this negativity, the more you believe it. So I started to take myself off social media, off the net, because you don't want to keep watching what other people are doing. People put pictures up of holidays. They're only putting up what they want you to see.
Yeah.
But underneath that, there's a whole different story. But I needed to get to remove everything negative out of my life, and I basically went to solitude. So I live on a mountain, but you don't have to go do this. But I decided to do this to me because I dived in deep to save me, because I was in an intense lot of pain, and my life, I deserved to live on, and I wanted to live. So I went to just off social media, and I engrossed myself in positivity. Only in positivity. I started reading Steve Osanachik's book, The Great Pain Deception. During my therapy, though, what connected me to heart was the second weekend, Rose said to me, Cheryl, I thought you were doing the presence process. And I went, ooh, what's that? I ordered the book. I started to read the presence process. Oh, my goodness. That takes you to heart. What I thought was an ego was not an ego. It's not a sense of arrogance. So I started to understand my personality and how it clouded, how I attached to this and left my authenticity. Then during the therapy, I read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, who dived in deeper. Once I understood authenticity versus my personality, I didn't fear going into the dark place so much, because I knew the dark place was who I was.
Can I just interrupt you? Yeah, for a second. I think like, because Tovah's so good with like takeaways, and like she wants, so I want to kind of like firm this down. So, Cheryl got off like all social media. So we want to challenge you, of anyone watching, your action step. So, I mean, I'm a coach, obviously, like I'm on social media, but my action step could be, unfollow people who trigger me. Or if I'm on there too much, like have a limit. So we're going to challenge you with, when you have, because we stay, Cheryl's saying we stay busy, the social media, more information, and it's this overstimulation that keeps the brain on high alert. So we're going to challenge you with one way to bring down the overwhelm. If it's social, I had a client who was on Zillow, Tovah, which is like her daughter or son, was looking for a house. And I was like, wow, yeah, because it's every day new houses, and, and it's stressful. This house just went, and how much it is expensive. And so we never, it could be news to some people, and Zillow. So we want to challenge you of like, how can you bring down the overwhelm, the overstimulation?
Or another way is, if you're going to be on social media, then practice.
Yeah.
Practice. Notice what's triggering you. Notice what someone's saying and how it's making you feel, like, and be aware of that, and then use it as an opportunity, but know yourself enough to do that. And I just want to mention about the presence process and the power of now, which are powerful books, and we don't need more books on our shelves, but the concepts of what's going on with the presence process and the power of now is what Dr. Sarno is saying. Just like, Dr. Sarno was the first was trauma-informed doctor. It's all the same. When we're in the present moment, we are breathing deeply. We are using our breath to keep us grounded. And we're not feeling any pain when in the present moment. But most important is, when we're in the present moment, we are with ourselves. So we're back to self. We're back to, it's all coming down to you. and your relationship with yourself. And as Michael Galinsky says, we have this condition called being human, and we all have it, and we're going to die from it. But we don't have to live. We can live a quality life being human, but we're going to have to stay in our body and love every part of us. We're going to have to love the parts of us we even hate. Think about that.
Yeah.
That's called awareness. That's called radical acceptance. That's called love for self.
Yeah.
And understanding the. Go ahead.
And it's a sense of when you go through it, you've got to accept, as hard and as painful it is, I would say, accept the unacceptable. You got to feel it to heal it, and to allow that flow, because our energy in our body, you know, you can imagine a river and you've got water flowing down the river. And this is how we started. This is how all this started is we get a sensation or a feeling and an emotion in our body from childhood trauma going, oh, okay, so if I be who I am, that's not enough for my parents, or that's not enough for school. So guess what? We go, oh, okay, so now I have to become someone else. But every time, because my anxiety went through the roof after I started therapy, and I realized I needed to go back there, because as a child, when an emotion came up, we went, you just like, but I don't know what to do with this. I can't express it because I get in trouble, or the whole family goes up in the air. What do I do? So you're anxious. So down goes, you suppress it. So there's a pebble in the flow of the water. And we kept doing this. So the flow of the energy, the river, the water was just trickling at some point in time. And then we have blocks. And as those blocks built, my cup overflowed to the point of no more. The energy can't flow. I was in shutdown. I froze. So then the brain goes, the brain was just sending more and more and more, anything to distract me. So then that's when you start to do other things like the scrolling on the internet and that, as you say, because that's the brain's way of going, well, her cortisol's up, my stress levels were up. Of course my stress levels are up. I'm feeling pain. But it was still trying to distract me, going, scroll on the internet. Go get some retail therapy. Go do all these feel-good things.
It's like a dopamine hit too, right?
A dopamine hit, but they were all very short-term.
Yeah.
Because the next minute you come home, you might feel good at the time, but then it all starts again in the feeling you're believing that something's wrong with your body through this whole process as well, because you would get new sensations. And even when you're doing the journey and you're connected to your heart, there are moments that the brain, it's very sneaky. It's there to protect you. It's doing the right thing because we trained it like that. I said to my brain, I'm not safe to feel this. I'm a child and I've got to suppress all this down to survive my childhood, to survive school, to survive everything in my life. I need to suppress these down. I'm going to put this mask on. I'm going to put this great big personality, pretend I'm big and happy, and just go, I don't matter. Yeah, I'm angry about this, but I'm just going to suppress those feelings down because I don't matter, to the point where my heart was calling me, back to my authenticity, because to heal the messages that come through that, if you look at the word message, it's the age of the mess that we put in our body. So you've got to go back to that age. So for me, I had a mess, right? So from here where my ribs are, my guilt, my shame, at what age was the mess that I put in there? The very first feeling that I felt was what I needed to go back to. If I try to rationalize it like an adult, it's not going to work. You're in your head. It goes back to, you're a child. You don't understand mum and dad are busy, or the teachers have 30 other students. You got to put yourself in the picture as a child and go, did you really give a shit about any of that? I didn't care that they had all this going on, because I'm going, there's me going, oh, but I just want love, and I just want to feel this. So the very first feeling when you're hurt, we've all been there, when you go, and that's where you got to connect. That's the part that wants to let go. That's where the deep anguish.
Yeah.
I had a lot of anguish, which was very deep, and that's where you've got to connect. If you go from the mind and go, no, I can't, I'm not going to say that about my parents. I can't say they were highly critical and all that. Yes, you can. Yeah. Don't rationalize it. Go back to the 7-year-old child. It was your birthright from birth to receive trust, to have a safe place, to be vulnerable, to be loved, and to be respected for you as an individual. And when those needs are not met,
how can a person, like we meet lots of people that have done the trauma therapy and have, you know, banged pillows and screamed off mountains and, you know,
yeah,
you know, and what about the people that have been through that and done that? What do they have to keep doing with themselves and their meditation and their, because there are people who, you know, are just, it's not, you know, once you figured it out, your body began to get the message. So what else can we share with the listeners about what they can do on their own? You know, they're getting amazing information, amazing knowledge. What can they do to get to that little girl and reach and reparent that little child without having to do years more of trauma therapy?
I think you've got to see yourself. I've actually got pictures up of when I was a little girl. I would look at it. Every time I felt anxious, every time I hit a pain, I've got it on my phone. I'd look at that little girl. And I recorded myself sometimes when I was, instead of doing express writing, a couple of times I recorded myself and I watched it back. And what I saw was, oh my God, I wanted to pick that person up and hug them and give them some compassion. And then express writing is really powerful. At the start, it didn't work for me. So express writing, but the most important thing I realized with it, because I used to write it and I would burn it without reading it, but I realized I was saying, oh, that's still saying to myself, you can't write that. But to write it, when you read it back out aloud, the neuroplasticity starts to kick in. You're starting to create new neurons, because at the end of it, I would write my trauma and I'd write how I feel. Then I would say, now I'm going to give you self-compassion. Wow, you survived this. You've come through all this. You deserve to be better. So in come the rewiring. Out went the negative thoughts of, you don't deserve. You're not. No, you go over there. You just be in the kitchen. That's your job. That's your role. No. We don't like you. I was creating new neuro pathways. When that starts to happen, you actually, when you first start to hear those neuro pathways and notice that you're not reacting, you're responding more. Mm-hmm. That's when you get more excited and you get more driven on your journey to keep going, to keep clearing out, because you see that it's working, the pain's alleviating. Yes, it's still, you get triggers will come up. I mean, we've got decades off of it. Our bodies have become our minds because we stored all this stuff there. So the body thinks it's the mind, and often you'll feel it in your body, then the thought will follow. So it's keeping an eye on your body and trusting your gut instinct on what that body's trying to say. Once again, there's the message. So the age of the mess, that it's stored in there, and you've got to go back to, how would you have felt? Put yourself in a childlike state. Don't rationalize it like an adult. You have to go, good one. I am 6. How would a 6-year-old? And I would tell anyone, go to the beach, go anywhere, watch little children. They're your biggest teacher. If you just watch them and watch them be in the moment, they're only in the moment, because remember, children live in a present mode. Everything is in the moment. If a child gets hurt at a park or something, if the mother or father is not around, they're not going to cry. A child, if you notice, a baby will, people go, can I hug your baby? No, the child is looking at the parents and feeling off energy first. because it's trying to feel that sense of safety. So you've always got to go back to the child, but go watch little children. I would say to people who are trying to heal, watch little children and put yourself in that place. Watch when they get hurt. Watch their needs for what they want, and watch when they do something, the recognition, if it's spoken to properly. Watch their faces, the joy on their face, and then it will start to hit some real, watch your body and notice that you're going, oh, and go, well, why am I feeling this inside? I'm triggered. I shouldn't be. It's because it's triggering me inside. It's not what they've done. It's triggering something inside. And if you feel this lack of something, you're still lacking, you're seeking something from a childhood, and you're still seeking, and it's still coming through, and it won't settle until you find it. But if we can take ourselves back to childhood, and feel that first feeling, and know. But to understand energy and power in the body, if the viewers think about something you've laughed at. Have you ever laughed that hard and you go, oh, stop, my stomach's hurting. And it aches, and you're laughing that hard. If I said to you and you're at that point, now hold it there, what would happen? It would hurt. All this ball of energy would hold in there. And that's what we've done. We've held all that, because emotions are energy emotion, but they can only flow if the river has no pebbles in the way to allow that water to come through. So we have to remove every stone at the age that it was, but you don't have to dive into everything. If you can get to the root cause of something, it will happen. But if you break off a branch at a time and go, yeah, I did feel sad. My parents were angry at each other. It may not have been at you. How did it make you feel? And understand that. Break that branch off. If you look at a tree and you've got roots down the bottom, if you break the branch off this, guess what will get exposed? The root cause will come through. But don't strive for it to come in one hit, because if you do, your body won't handle it. Remember, some of this stuff has been pushed down for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. If you had all this come through at once, your body will not take it. I've been through some pretty powerful releases. I think they call one of them the Kundalini energy. And my body...
We talk about...
Really shook out.
Talk about the Wim Hof breathing.
Yeah.
Please, talk about the breathing.
So the breathing technique, as I started to get into my breathing and started to breathe properly, so up from the abdomen, all the way up through to the chest. And then if you slowly release through your pursed lips, you should be able to breathe down to where you're feeling those sensations, and you'll feel a sense of peace. That's how you start to connect to your heart as well, because you start to feel, if you can breathe inwards, don't just breathe and then go, because you're sending it all out. Try and pursed lips. This is how I found I connected to myself, was breathing down in. It's very meditative. It's almost like meditation, and I'll go.
Make it look so easy, Cheryl.
And send some kindness down to my ribs and stuff. But I do the Wim Hof method, and that kind of took me into my body even more, because you have to, because you're on a breath hold.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the ice bathing as well really helps. But the breath is important. The first thing I would say to everybody listening is connect to your breath. If you look at the word spirit, the spirit is the soul, is the heart of who you are. When we're born, when we're growing in our mother's wombs, what grows that baby? Think about it. It's not the mother growing the baby, it's an energy source. It's the same energy that created that body that will heal your body. Trust that energy. And the first organ that works is your heart. The heart has the memory to everything in your subconscious, everything there, the subconscious, it's recorded everything. Sometimes you just have to ask. If I need a question asked, I ask my subconscious, please send it through, and it will send it. And just trust that. But the breath work is, I would say to anyone, start breathing properly. To all you ladies out there, get your Buddha bellies going. Don't be afraid to let that stomach rise and let it go down. To me, I just go, because we do that as females, don't we? We want to look slim. We want to look trim. We want to do all this. I look in the mirror now and I go, I love all of me. I love every gray hair, every wrinkle. Reflections changed a bit, but I know I'm still the same hearted soul that came to live in this human body and experience being here on earth. But if you can connect to that breath and focus on that breath, that is your doorway. The breath is everything, and it is your spirit. Yeah. And then
what do you think of that, Julie?
I was going to say too, like the breath, for people who are, because with my history too, I love the breath. It's a great way if you're struggling with how do I get in my body? I don't even get, what is she saying? Body. I really struggled to be in my body. I didn't feel very embodied. I didn't understand what it meant to be grounded. I was like, why would you hang out in your body? That sounds horrible. Are you sure that's where you're? My first mind body, she was a mind body coach, and I was like, are you sure? Like, why? And I was like, just because you're my coach doesn't mean you're right. I don't. So that's why I tell people, the breath is like a great first, if you're struggling, like how use the breath, do Wim Hof, there's many different breath works. I learned also through my chiropractor about breathing for the first time. And also I was going to say that like most people don't breathe correctly and most people breathe here shallow. So maybe just
so important. I'm thinking, all the journaling, I'm thinking all the journaling and all the neuroplasticity and all the thinking and all the, it's great stuff, but like the breath is so primal.
Breath.
I was going to say primal too. Yeah.
Breath is spirit. If you look it up and look up the meaning of breath, breath means spirit. So I think when you mention the word spiritual, I used to think crystal balls and woo and all this. I don't dress like a hippie or a gypsy or anything like that. Spiritual just means connecting to your authenticity of who you are. We all have a spirit, and people say, oh, gee, that was nice to go out and run today. It was good for the soul. The soul? You are the soul. The more you recognize you're the soul, you're the energy that grew this body in the first place. Yeah. The one that started that heart beating, that heart started. That's the energy that's going to heal your body, because you're going to shift that energy and allow it, because you have to give it as the energies want to come up. You feel them come up. And to regulate an emotion, like as you do this practice, you'll be able to regulate your emotions on the go, because you'll know how to stop, connect, give it permission. You have to give it permission to leave, to accept the unacceptable. And it's the most painful stuff, and just sit there and go, you're allowed to be there, and engross yourself in it and just sit there in silence. And as I said, breathe into the body.
Present moment also, the breath.
Present moment, in the now. Because when you live in the now, the past is your depression. The anxiety is the future. But when you only live in the moment, because this is all that matters. Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow's history. But today, make it your mystery. Yeah. I wonder what's going to happen for me today. What am I going to let go of? What am I going to heal? The past is important to let go of with your traumas, but it's important. The ISTPD therapy taught me, and through all this, is why did I develop these personalities that are not who I was? Why did I disconnect from this authentic part of me, the part that is the best version of me? Why do I feel I need to bring in this personality, and why can't I just sit there and go, this is who I am? Sure, I'm not, I can't spell all that good sometimes, and I make mistakes, but that's okay. I hope I keep making mistakes because it means I'm learning and I'm evolving, and we're meant to evolve. We're meant to grow from what we are, and we're meant to find out why we're here as ourselves and enjoy this journey. And
the pain is a message saying, knock, knock. I want to speak to you. I want to connect. And that's what the pain is. It's not punishing us. It's protecting.
No, it's the inner child. It's your inner child still saying, we came here for our journey. We came here to be ourselves. And for me, I'm not going to miss one more social event, barbecue, or anywhere, putting a mask on and being a persona that I'm not there, because I'm not there if I'm not there. Yeah. I want to connect as me, and I want my authenticity to be there. But understanding why you develop these personalities as coping mechanisms to shut down because you thought you were not good enough or valued enough as you are. That's why we develop these, and they're the ones. But you don't hate that ego. Don't hate that personality. It's not your friend. It's not your enemy. It was there, and it helped you survive to get to this stage, because without it, and sometimes you do need it. Sometimes
so
you have to engage that.
Yeah.
Yes. But you don't hate, don't try and heal by hating that going, oh, damn it, it was all because of this stupid personality, and I said yes when I should have said no. Don't hate that. Go, thank you for the message. Thank you for being there. I really appreciate it. But please let me take control back now. I'm safe to take control. I'm safe to do this now.
So much wisdom.
Yeah.
So much wisdom. I mean, like last week it was with Dr. Clark, and that was a certain kind of wisdom, but this is a totally different kind of wisdom. Right, Jeannie?
Oh, really?
Very soulful. So yeah. We want to
because I can bring my dog's psychology helps with this as well. So because I'm certified in dog psychology. So dogs, as you know, are like a 3-year-old child. So they work the same. They only work in the now. A dog will only work in the now. But I would say to anyone who's trying to heal, if your dog is wailing you where they see a little bit of whites, or they're doing this at you, but you're going, oh, please come here, and you're having a bad day with your pain, and your dog's doing that, it's telling you, because they will mirror you. What you're speaking, your energy is not reflecting the same, and a dog will pick up on that. So take notice of that. The dog's trying to help you go, you're saying this, but I know inside you're feeling this. Go to that feeling. The dog's trying to help you heal, because it's unconditional love from them to you. And that all made sense to me. Is we as pack leaders let them down as 3-year-old children, the same as my pack leaders were my caregivers, my parents, right? They let me down. But now I'm my pack leader. Yes.
Jeannie, you're going to say something about the dog?
I was just going to say we haven't. Yeah, as we kind of wrap up, I think we forgot to kind of mention, if anyone has, as we finish, questions, real quick questions for Cheryl or for Tovah and I, because I don't think we mentioned that. And kind of, like last thoughts, Cheryl, with the takeaways, or if anyone has a question, we'll make sure
I would say to anyone who is in this place, to those who are in the deepest, darkest place that I was, I can honestly say, you find that strength. I do know one thing. I went to that place where I didn't want to live. But I know that it wasn't me that was speaking. That was my mind, my negative talk, my identities. And I know you won't do it. Find that strength. Find that place in your heart. Go and do your joys. Try and think back to a childhood. I bounce on a trampoline every day. I love it. Mm-hmm. And find that place that gave you joys, and sit there quietly with it and feel that joy and allow yourself to immerse. Don't go, oh, I'm an adult, I'm not supposed to do childish things. Oh, yes, you are.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. You can't take the child out of you, because they're your joys. That's what brings you through life. And do that. I mean, there are coping mechanisms I can give people, because I do backwards walking as well. It's really good for bringing on the frontal cortex online. because the brain loves it. It stimulates, drops your anxiety down big time. But I would say to anyone, don't give up. You're not alone. Ask for help. And if you feel like you're asking for help in your family members and those closest to you and you're not getting anywhere, you won't, because you're too close. They're too close emotionally to you. Find someone that can you can be vulnerable, feel safe with, that has the capacity and the space to hear you. Because those that are close, you're triggering their own inner child, and they're like an 8-year-old going, I don't know what to do with this little child that's coming and doing all this. I don't know. I don't know what to do. Like, you've got to find someone who can give you that space and the need, and you're not alone. Like, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Keep going. Keep going. You deserve to live. Life's
Jeannie,
too good.
you want to leave some words of wisdom, Jeannie, from California, from another place down under?
Yeah, I would just love this interview so much. And just because I kind of represent the people I speak to, right? And your journey is not going to look like Cheryl or mine or Tovah's or, you know, what we've been through. So everyone's journey is different, and you can always find hope, and just take the 1-2 pieces of nuggets that Cheryl, you know, people get so hung up of like, but she didn't have exactly what I have, or I'm different, or that's the ego trying to separate that you're different, you can't heal, that you're whatever. So I always say, and like with Cheryl, she gave so many beautiful examples. Just take a few, take 1 or 2. Like, you don't have to agree with everything. We get stuck of like that one thing I don't agree with, and then nothing. No, it's such beautiful wisdom that she has. So take what resonates, start to implement something. And I love too, you know, sometimes, like to your point, Cheryl, like if we go to doctors and feel like a burden, then of course we could feel like a burden to ask for help, like a coach, a therapist, right? Or like, who am I to get one-on-one support? I'm not good enough. I shouldn't spend the money. I should have all the answers. We just want to like normalize this. Like, we've all paid and asked for help, and it's worth it, and you're worth it. So those are my final thoughts.
Yeah. And can I just add quickly with that, because there was something you touched on there, Jeannie, and it's really important. I forgot how important this is to those who are listening. You will get it from family members, and that if you're not suffering a terminal disease, they will say, at least you're not suffering cancer. At least you're not dying.
Oh God, I just got chills. Yeah.
Don't compare. Don't compare, because probably as a child you were compared to. So you're still not being seen. You're not seeing yourself. It will take you back to another trauma again. So don't compare yourself to others, and don't think because you don't have this pain or that pain. The emotions stored in our body are the same, whether someone's terminal to someone who just has ankle, knee issues. All the trauma and all our emotions hurt the same. They scar the same in our body. So never compare yourself to others, because every human being is deserving of being seen and heard and healed.
Yeah.
Okay, so much. Thank you. Bless your heart. Well, I'm so grateful to the universe, to the internet, to Jeannie, to Cheryl. Karen chimed in. Karen's an amazing ICDP therapist Karen's here from a different part of Queensland.
She's in Queensland. Queensland, Australia. Yeah.
That your ICDP is an amazing therapy. Anyway, so we will all meet again, I'm sure of that, in the cosmos, in the quantum, here in Dr. Tovah's studio. Have a wonderful day, Jeannie. Have a wonderful day, Cheryl. I'm going to bed. See you next week. God bless. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Thank you.